Setting up registration on your stones. So now that I've completed my second etch, I need to plot out where my paper is going to go and set up my registration marks on the stone. So first off, I'm going to start by just extending the edges of my image in pencil. So I just line this up with the edge of the image and draw the pencil mark all the way across. The pencil is going on top of that gum Arabic film, so I'm not actually putting any marks on the actual stone itself. Then I need to measure out the size of my image here. So this image was 4.5 by 5.5. Your image is going to vary. And then I'm going to subtract that image size from what my paper size is. So I know that my paper size is 7.5 by 11. I want to make sure that my paper fits entirely on the stone. I want to know how big my borders are going to be, and I want to make sure that that paper fits on there and I can see my registration marks and that there's a spot for my scraper bar to start and stop. So I've taken my calculations and then I am measuring out from the image area to make sure that my paper is indeed 7.5 wide there. You can see I double checked that. Then I need to measure out my paper size as it extends top and bottom here. So I have 11 inches to work with. You can see I'm leaving a little extra space at the bottom. My border at the top is the same as my borders on the left and the right. And I'm always measuring from the same end of the image. So I'm marking out those, extending, connecting those two lines. And then I have my paper mapped out, so you can see where my paper edges would be. So I'm gonna double check that with my torn paper and ensure that, yes, it indeed does fit in those paper borders that I laid out. So now I need to set up my T and bar, which is what I'm gonna be using to register my paper to the stone so that it lines up the same way every single time. So I'm gonna mark the center of my image here. So it is at marked at center. I'm doing this in pencil again. At the top of the image, that is gonna be my capital T. And then down at the bottom of my image will be the bar. These marks are outside of the paper edge because I need to be able to see this. Those will line up with the T and the bar that I have on my physical paper. So I need to make those marks more permanent, since as soon as I hit this with water, all these pencil marks that are sitting on top of the gum are gonna go away. So I'm plotting out where the long edge of the T is, and then I need to lightly scratch into the stone. I don't wanna go super deep, and I'm using the opposite side of the X-Acto that I would normally use. So I'm just lightly scratching a very straight, thin line outside that paper edge. You can see that light scratch there for the top of the capital T, and then the line that extends the T, and then just a bar on the other side. My head is in the way here, right up to that where that paper edge would be. Then I'm gonna put Sharpie over those lines to make sure that it goes down into those scratches. I don't want this to go too deep, because then when I grain this stone again later, it's gonna be a pain to get these marks out. So after the Sharpie is in those lines, I'm gonna do just a drop of gum on each of these edges and then rub that in until the Sharpie is only in the lines. And I'm gonna follow that up with some paper towels just to wipe away that extra wet gum. Remember to wipe this away from your image, not towards your image, because we don't want any of this gum over top of that image there. And once that is done, then I'm gonna be moving on to printing next. So I need to set up the press for stones. And that is the next video.